Hello, welcome to Senior's Last Word. Paul Pogba splits fans' opinion the world over more times perhaps than the hairs of one's head. Some think he is a flawed genius. Others think he's a wasted footballer. Others, like me, think he is grossly judged unfairly, misjudged, and never given a chance to show everyone who and what he really is on a football pitch with a football. Today, I talk about a talent I personally believe were he to operate in ideal conditions at an ideal club under an ideal coach, Paul Pogba could be as good as Zinedine Zidane, Andreas Pirlo, and probably, for those who didn't know, Roman Riquelme. That is the category. That is the style of player, playmaker, attacking or central midfielders that I think define the quality, the natural quality and abilities of Paul Pogba. At Manchester United, where he has been for now 6 years, he was 4 years at Juventus. Most of the people who have come to know the real Paul Pogba have only seen him at Manchester United, where he has been playing under different managers, under different circumstances, under coaches who have totally failed to understand where his genius lies, where his trick is. And at a time when United has been struggling, at a time when every player in that team has no idea how to play football, that is when the judges, that means the analysts, the fans, and everyone who is in this football world has come out to judge Paul Pogba for what I consider harshly. As I embark on trying to analyze Paul Pogba and to put him where I believe he belongs, I pray that fans out there, whether you're a Manchester United fan, rival fan, Juventus, French fan, or whatever, you should be in position to understand whether we have a player who could be one of the most misjudged in the history of the game. For beginners, who is Paul Pogba? Where does he play? And how should we judge him? One of the greatest failures of Manchester United, not the club, but the managers who have handled him at Manchester, is the failure to understand what his greatest attributes are and how to dispense his talent. Were you to put Paul Pogba on a clear, open field, flat surface, no bias, just the talent that he is, and begin to look at everything that he has as a skill, I think for me, you wouldn't put him far from Zidane, Andreas Pirlo, and Roman Riquelme. Why do I choose those players we all know have celebrated alongside Pogba and comparing them? Not comparing in terms of class. I am making the comparison in terms of talent. Now, class comes in when your talent gets fulfilled. Paul Pogba's talent is thereabouts. It hasn't yet been fulfilled because of circumstances beyond his control. Zinedine Zidane for me is one of the best footballers I've ever seen. Top 3, in my opinion, throughout history. What a classy footballer. What a gifted playmaker. As a number 10, as a central midfielder, as an attacking midfielder. What a footballer. I've never seen, I never saw a midfield player as good in central midfield as he is as a playmaker and as he is as a number 10. 3 in 1. That is Zinedine Zidane. World class, one of the best for me, 3 players in history. Roman Riquelme, the Argentine, flawed in a way because of his temperament and the way he handles himself. But for talent, what he did with the ball as a playmaker, as a central midfielder, as a number 10, those 3 positions on a football field, for me, he is the closest to Zinedine Zidane. The only difference between Roman Riquelme and Zidane is that Zidane went on to fulfill his full potential at all levels. Club, national team, he achieved, he delivered, not 1 season, but over 12 seasons at the biggest clubs and one of the greatest footballing nations in the world. He achieved, he fulfilled. The difference with him from Riquelme is because of Riquelme's temperament, Riquelme's failure to manage himself, manage his talent. Riquelme didn't really fulfill what was supposed to be perhaps the best talent after Zidane. But for style, no difference. And I'll tell you because I'm now also bringing the equation Andreas Pirlo, that Italian. What a playmaker. After Zinedine Zidane left the stage, no one, no footballer in the world came close to Andreas Pirlo in terms of playmaking attributes. But these 3 players I've mentioned, Zinedine Zidane, Roman Riquelme, and Andreas Pirlo, had something in common, which for me is the reason why they showed us what they are and performed at the highest level the way they did. The style. Each of them has a style we don't see every day amongst footballers playing in their positions. What is their style? Just look at them. What is their style? What is it that I'm talking about? The elegance, the freedom, the opportunity they had and were given to play their natural game. We don't know them for their hard tackling or man marking or running all day on a pitch looking for that ball. What they did was to get that ball from whoever. And once they were in possession of that ball, the application, using that ball, you left it to them to be the brain and the computer. And my word, what did we see from these players? 1 French, 1 Argentine, 1 Italian. Glorious footballers. Why? The freedom. The coaches who managed them understood. You don't make these players tackle, run all day. You don't make them play the same way that N'Golo Kante, for example, plays. You don't do that. You just let them play their natural game and you will get the best. That is where I bring in Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's DNA is exactly like these 3 playmakers. Where his coaches at Manchester United to understand that Paul Pogba is a free spirit, natural player who brings the best out of himself when he's given and allowed freedom to play his natural game. Also understood also in what role? As a playmaker. Now the confusion is Paul Pogba a deep-lying playmaker or an attacking midfielder? In fact, at United, he's even been played as a winger. I don't agree. I think Paul Pogba is one of 2 things. A playmaker, freedom to roam, an attacking midfielder. The difference between him and the other 3 I've talked about is he's not a number 10. The others could all play perfectly in 3 different midfield positions. Playmaking, attacking, central. Equally effective. Paul Pogba is not a number 10. He is a playmaker, central, and an attacking midfielder. Manchester United just don't get him. They don't understand him. It is the reason why the Paul Pogba we see in Manchester United is not the Paul Pogba we see in the French national team. I wonder, every time I watch France play, and Paul Pogba, alongside all the superstars of France, often, Paul Pogba for me is the standout player. Easily, no debate. Whether it is World Cup, whether it is friendly matches, whatever the competition, when France is playing, Paul Pogba stands out so clearly on the football pitch. Simple, easy reason. France understand the player. They know how to utilize him. They just tell him, go out there and do your thing. You are our playmaker. In France, whoever gets the ball, look left, right, the center, give it to Paul Pogba. Just let him do his thing. And believe me, that's when Paul Pogba becomes Paul Pogba. So why do people say that he is hot and cold? That's one of the reasons he will never be rated among the truly great world-class footballers. It is not down to him. It's unfair. Now let me tell you what in England and critics of Pogba want him to play like, because that's the problem. They look, for instance, at the Premier League. United, for example, had Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes would have been the Paul Pogba of today, because I'm picking like for Manchester United. Paul Scholes' style was different from Paul Pogba. They would naturally play the same role as central midfielders, also as attacking midfielders, also as playmakers. Same. But Paul Scholes was also a holding midfielder who could comfortably play as a defensive midfielder. And then his style, naturally, he was a grafter, hard tackler, running, covering every blade of grass. He used to play with his heart on sleeve. He never feared to put the foot where any other player would have feared. He was hard. But Paul Scholes would mix the hard side of football, the hard side of a midfielder, tackling, running, fighting, cajoling, everything. He would mix it. And when you needed him now to also go in attack and do the attacking midfield role as a playmaker, glorious. He was a combination of everything. The reason he's different from Pogba does not have to play like Scholes to prove that he's equally or probably even better gifted. But everyone thinks he ought to play like Scholes. No, different styles, different effectiveness depending on the roles. Now we've seen other players, playmakers, also central midfielders, who perhaps a lot of people believe Paul Pogba should be playing like. Remember Wesley Sneijder, the Dutch playmaker. What a player. Remember Gary McAllister, that Scotsman who once played for Liverpool. Just remember him, Gary McAllister. Yaya Toure, Manchester City. Central midfielders, playmakers, but players whose style, for them to be effective, for them to be the class that we all saw and appreciated, they had to have a hard element to their game, a grafting element to their game, physical element to their game. Almost as if they have to mix it up to be good, just like Paul Scholes. Now, world class, yes, Yaya Toure was world class. Sneijder was world class, no question. McAllister in his days, yes, he suit the bill of world class. But their style, natural style, is not Paul Pogba's style. The flamboyance, the elegance, that's Paul Pogba, that's Zidane, that's Pirlo, that's Riquelme. But there is another type who have played not so long ago that I can also bring out to relate to Paul Pogba and how we should allow him to play his game. Emmanuel Petit, Arsenal, playmaker. Was he ever a fighter, a grafter, a player required to go and tackle here, tackle there, chase balls, check human beings? Petit? No. But in that great Arsenal side in which he played, all you needed is to give him the ball and tell Petit, it's down to you. Do your thing. And Petit did his thing. That's Paul Pogba's style. We have a player, Luka Modric. Luka Modric in the Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, Wesley Sneijder mold. Even at 36 or probably approaching 37 now, Modric, with all his guile, his skill, his quality, he is also a player that loves to mix it up with hard work. He can still run the whole day, even today. But the way he uses the ball, he keeps it, he beats players, he dribbles, his vision, he scores goals, he creates, he has longevity, he sustains his class over long periods of time, he influences games, he dominates games. He is good with special, dead ball specialist, and I mean, he's just the complete central midfielder. That is Luka Modric. But is Luka Modric style Paul Pogba style? No. Now, what then is the problem with Paul Pogba? The judges, the fans, everyone who is a critic, an observer, a writer, and commentator, we all have opinions. Now, the opinions of everyone have become so loud that the coaches who are managing Pogba have picked on this and tried to force Pogba to play a game which is not him. One of the biggest problems has been the constant changes of managers, because each has a different way of appreciating football, a different philosophy, different tactical approaches. Those ones who have pandered Pogba have totally wasted the talent. I mean, remember Jose Mourinho, who bought him. We all know how Jose Mourinho loves his football to be played. He tried and he did inculcate a certain way, a certain style into Pogba because he wanted him to play that way, forcing him. Now, the other coaches who came and picked it, Louis van Gaal, Solskjaer, and now, of course, we have the current German. What are they all trying to do? Because they tried to pick on the way Mourinho was using this player, because not many of them had really followed him at Juventus, where for me I believe he was allowed to play his thing. That's why he was much better in his younger times at Juventus than he is at Man U. Because most of them did not follow him. They picked him up at United. Now they wanted to make him play their thing, their system. And that's why Paul Pogba is suffering. Now, people have accused him of being temperamental, of having a bad attitude, of all these things that they're accusing him of, almost treating him as though he was another Balotelli. He isn't. In my view, this is a frustrated player who is not understanding why his own coaches can't understand how to utilize him. In this current Man United side, why would anyone think twice about what Paul Pogba's role should be? You shouldn't debate between Fernandes, Bruno, and Paul Pogba who should be the main man in the center. You shouldn't. You shouldn't debate how you should deploy him or whether some games should be out or in. Paul Pogba ought to be a permanent presence in every game for Manchester United. There is no better talent in United than Paul Pogba. Natural talent. Technical gifts. You watch a player and you just want to sit and almost ask for coffee to enjoy football. Paul Pogba is a joyous footballer. I want to make a challenge for you guys. Look at Zinedine Zidane. Tell me, what skill, what technical skill did Zinedine Zidane perform naturally in his game? Whether it's a dribble, a ball control, use of the ball, his movements, dead ball specialist, his vision. Try to think of anything that Zinedine Zidane did in the game which Paul Pogba can't do or which he doesn't do. Just tell me. This boy is talented. Just think about it. What does Zidane do that Paul Pogba doesn't do on his day? Everything that Zinedine Zidane did. And I'm saying he was, for me, he is among the top 3 players in world football history. But in terms of talent and skill, everything he did with the ball, Paul Pogba can do. Has Paul Pogba been given a chance to show that he can and do that? He has been denied. How was Zidane used? How was he used? Real Madrid, Juventus, France. There was one rule that everybody had to follow. Once you get the ball, once you win the ball, just give it to Zinedine Zidane. The rest of us, let's sit and wait and see what he's going to do. He was the think tank, the computer, the brain, and he reveled in that role. And he did revel because that's what comes natural to him. Paul Pogba ought to be handled the same way because that's what Paul Pogba does. Yes, he's such a genial talent that his game is not even understood by his own players because Paul Pogba will pass a ball in a very unusual way and his teammate won't even know that he's going to pass to him. The flicks, the turns, I mean everything he does almost, you've got to be at the same thinking level because he's too quick. Everything is so fast. That is what his teammates don't understand. When he does a thing, a move, he's done it too fast. No one knows what he's going to do. But that's Paul Pogba. Too sharp. He's a computer. Paul Pogba is not a failed player. He's 28 years of age. At 28 years of age, we've seen Paul Pogba on dead balls. The free kicks, the corner kicks, his shooting ability, the use of the left and right foot. He scores goals, and what marvelous goals he scores. If you allowed him to enter that box more often, Paul Pogba would be one of the highest scoring attacking midfielder in European football. He's never scared. He doesn't fear. He doesn't fear to dare. He is so innovative. He does things that footballers of today don't do. Poor guy, he's deployed as either a deep line playmaker. Deep line Pogba. He is supposed to be the visionary, the one splitting defense passes, the one with the vision to pass it long, pass it short, to flick it, to move. That's Paul Pogba. You want to benefit from him? Push him further up front, not deep line. Deep line is to deploy him more or less like who? If you're to think about it, deep line like Patrick Vieira maybe. No. Now, at 28 years, Paul Pogba at least has 7 years left in him. Will he fulfill his full potential at Manchester United? I think no, he won't. Why? He's frustrated. Mentally, he's switched off. The things that Paul Pogba does on the pitch, his petulance, his conduct, what some people are calling indiscipline, it's out of frustration. Years are getting past him. No one is allowing him to play his game. Can he fulfill that potential because he's approaching prime age? He's not yet in his prime because these days prime is, yes, 28, probably up to about 33. It is the right age for Paul Pogba and the maturity. He's won things with France. Yes, he's won some things with Manchester United. He won things at Juventus. He's a winner. He's stated glory as a winner with silverware in his hands. He's been a leader at times. He's captained at times. He's played along the best footballers with France. Has anyone seen how he carries himself around the French national team, which has perhaps the biggest collection of accomplished world superstars? Pogba sits and stands amongst those French players, and it's like he is the player, and all other players almost acknowledge. Yes, he could be younger, more than some of them, but man, these guys, they understand this player. And because of the confidence that naturally comes with your teammates believing you and allowing you to do your thing, Paul Pogba elevates his game whenever he wears the blue of France. Paul Pogba, you want him to be the player we all want to be. It's not up to any of us, but if you could move from Manchester United, go to a club that understands how to utilize him. He just went. He could have joined Real Madrid, probably. I don't know who else wishes to try his talents. PSG, maybe. Bayern Munich, maybe. But his talent has been destroyed so much so that even other clubs which would have moved in for him and pay the big money for him are now more afraid of his issues, which are not footballing issues, other than the talent he's supposed to bring to their teams. That's why the clubs are not moving in for him. PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, name them. They are only worried about he blows hot and cold. We might spend the money and he doesn't deliver. He switches off. He gets angry. He's indisciplined. He can't manage his talent. Wrong. It hurts. We've seen talents that hurt in terms of unfulfillment. The Pogba talent hurts. Anyone remembers Guti of Real Madrid? That Spanish player? Guti. Again, another attacking midfielder. As good as a playmaker as he was as an attacking midfielder, but the way he used to do it as a playmaker with his left, wonderful, wonderful. That elegance, that finesse, the way he would take on players and just beat them with the dribble, the movement, the way he enters that box, the vision, the passing, that was Guti. So I acknowledge and admit that yes, there are players who have done their thing, excelled, passed with full marks and achieved as central midfielders, as attacking midfielders, as playmakers, and granted, because they've come with results as well, they've been qualified. I am moving that the football today is unkind and very harsh to Paul Pogba. Is there a club out there that can stand up to save Paul Pogba's talent? Not just for the sake of winning things for a club, but for us football fans, for everybody who loves the game. How can we have Paul Pogba who is just frustrated because he is not understood by his own coaches? Release Paul Pogba, you will see whatever it is in him that is holding back. But the few times when he's allowed to, let me give you an example. This season, he's hardly played football. We're in the second round. But he is still Manchester United's top assists provider. He missed almost 8-9 games. No one in Manchester creates and has the vision as he does. He's still the number one assist provider. In fact, behind Alexander-Arnold, Salah, and Robertson, Paul Pogba is next. But the guy has missed the entire season. Go back the other season, still among the top assist providers. But forget the assist because that's natural to him. For me, it's what he brings on a football pitch to a team. Football today lacks players to make us love the game for what it is. It is romance. It is about entertainment. It's about the joy it brings to us. That gift of using that ball as if it's an orchestra. That's what we don't have. Pogba can be a conductor, but with flair. He loves his game. He smiles. He laughs. When he's moving and he's on top of his game, you don't want him to stop doing his thing. We are missing that. We are being robbed of that. The Premier League doesn't have that many players with Pogba's talent. Why are we being frustrated? Because the coaches don't understand how to use this player. His contract is coming under question. The club might still want to retain him. I don't like that. I disagree. Can someone save Pogba? Someone who is willing to be patient and allow this guy to play his game, because that's what he doesn't have. Paul Pogba, is he a failure? Has he failed? Is he a frustrating individual? Only for those who have frustrated his talent. He is a marvel. He's glorious. He's great to see. I will end this video by saying, without a shadow of a doubt, that for me, the talent that Paul Pogba has both in his feet and in his head is as good as the talent that Zinedine Zidane had, Roman Riquelme had, Andreas Pirlo had. I've picked those three players because for me, in the last 15 to 20 years, they are the best playmakers. The best playmakers I have seen, and that's just my opinion. Best players who had everything you can ask of a playmaker. The combination of talent, skill, technical ability, guile, flair, fancy, romance, giving us the entertainment that football ought to give football fans. If you look today to find the player who still has that, in that same role, it is Paul Pogba. Unfortunately, the judgment across is that he's failed, a flawed genius. I am saying today, he is not a flawed genius. He is one of the players who have suffered most in history by or at the hands of those handlers who just don't get it. They just don't get it. And because of that, the boy is harshly judged. Do we want to see Paul Pogba continuing to play football at the highest level? We will see Paul Pogba doing his thing with France. But why France and not the clubs? France understand his game, understand him, know how to use him. The clubs, Manchester United for one, where he is now, have no idea how to utilize this talent. It's sad, it's a sorry state of affairs. Do I think this player still has hope? Yes, at 28, 6 to 7 years, he still can do his thing. But by God, can someone come and save him and save the talent? Because for me, the Premier League is missing on a player whose talent is at par with the best playmakers I've seen in the last 20 years. But currently, we can't see because his handlers simply can't allow him. Paul Pogba, for me, the best player, the most talented at Manchester United. Unfortunately, the one whose talents have not been given a chance to come to the fore and for the player to maximize them. Hopefully, his handlers from now on and whoever is watching the video and maybe has access to one or two guys who can get to these people to talk about the true Paul Pogba. For me, a talent that I marvel every time I watch him and I dream of seeing the very best of this guy. French at Manchester United, once at Juventus at 28, but probably with a lot more to offer if football can allow him. Paul Pogba, one of the best players in world football today. And that's my last word.